Hey everyone, it's Andrzej on Software, and today I would like to talk to you about remote work and my debating and wondering why remote is still not there in many companies, even though many programmers would like to have remote work. And I'm looking right now at a website of Stack Overflow developer survey results from 2017, so 1 year ago. And they say here that when we ask respondents what they valued most when considering a new job, 53% said remote options were a top priority. A majority of developers, 63%, reported working remotely at least 1 day a month, and 11% say they are full-time remote or almost all the time. So we're kind of getting there, but it's still not fully there. There's interesting stats in this survey you look at. One of the things which are super interesting is when you look at where are developers working remote full-time, and Russian Federation is winning the survey with 22%, Brazil is second with 15%, Italy is third with 13%, United States is with fourth with 12%, then there's Australia, Spain, Poland is 10%, Germany, for example, is 6%, so not much. So I think it's growing, but it's still not there. And then when we look at the difference, another split here is which kinds of developers work remote. It's graphic designer, 22%. So graphic designer, I wouldn't consider a developer, but okay. Graphics programming, 17%. Systems administrator, 16%. Database administrator, 15%. And then we have developers, mobile developer, 14%. So among the developers, mobile developers seem to be more already on the remote side. That's interesting. Web developer is 11%. So what is preventing people? There are several myths here. Some people just say, "Oh, remote work just doesn't work." It's okay. It's a nice and interesting worldview. I would be interested in debating this worldview. Some people say you can't really communicate when you work remotely. Some people, have tried remote work, but they failed once. So now they have a scientific proof that it doesn't work at all. But jokes aside, I think there's a kind of a chicken and egg problem in this area. And I see this as one. The first and most important to me is that the developers, they still lack some of the skills required. And obviously I'm just generalizing here, not everyone, but in general, we still lack the skills required for remote work. And the second thing is that companies, meaning, the owners, founders, or managers, or whoever creates the company processes, they don't know how to organize the processes so that remote work is possible. And in a way, that's also because they seem to be worried that the developers, they wouldn't know, they don't have the skills to work remotely. So as you can see here, my narration is that it's about skills. Programmers may lack skills, and companies or managers may lack skills how to organize the processes. And here's a different important aspect of this whole discussion. There is the remote part and there is the async part. So for example, what I mean by that, you can have a company in the office where it is kind of required to work most of the time in the same hours, and it's kind of expected and even encouraged for people to interrupt each other's work, to have often meetings, brainstorming sessions, to feel like you are talking to each other all the time. So I would call this office sync environment. So where it's expected to be in the office and where it's expected to be at the same time, and it's kind of okay to talk to each other all the time. It's often encouraged because it's, maybe some people believe it increased creativity in the team. Another extremum, I would say, is when you are remote and async. It means you can work from home, you can work from any kind of place, and most of the time you can work whichever hours you prefer, whichever time zone you are, and so on. So you can travel, you can do whatever you like as long as you do your job. And this is remote and async, and this requires certain processes in the company, obviously. So this is another side of the extreme. So here, for example, I see most value not really in the remote part, even though I'm a big remote fan and I kind of evangelize the remote environments. I live in a small village. I live close to the forest. I enjoy the remote part, but I don't think this is the thing that is bringing the most value from the company's perspective. The most value, I believe, comes from the async part, both from the company perspective and from the developer perspective. So I don't want to say go async and remote just because we developers want it, because that's that would be kind of egoistic from a developer's point of view. Even though we do have a developer job market right now, so maybe it's a good idea. But I believe that many of the async processes that you can build are beneficial to many companies, especially developer companies and software companies. So, but just to carry on with the remote and sync. So you can have a company which is remote and sync, and I believe this is what is getting popular nowadays. So some companies allow remote work, but they say you should be, in between those hours, and that's because they don't have async processes, they don't have the async environment. So they still require you to be there because there might be some call where you want to join, there might be some meetings which they want to arrange, there might be someone really needing asking you a question because it's only you who knows certain stuff. So that's the kind of environment, and I think that's the easy part. I think if someone really wants to go remote, this is okay. At the same time, there is an option of so that was remote and sync, and then we have so remote and sync. Remote and async, you can the hours are not there. We are like kind of liberal with this. Then there is office sync, so everyone goes to the office and everyone works at the same hours, and it's encouraged to interrupt each other. And there is office and async, and I think that's an option that is I don't know many companies practicing that, but this kind of still gives the whole idea of an office, the social environment for working for the people. When people don't have their environment at home to work really in a good condition, good reliable condition, they can just come to the office and work there. But it's not really, no one really relies on that. So you more treat as the office as the social place, as the comfortable place to work. But it's not that it is required. So no one needs you to interrupt your work and so on. So this is like another. So there's 4 possible setups depending on remote, sync, async, and office. And again, going back to the chicken and egg problem, I think this is something that is preventing us from seeing a bigger remote and async adoption. The skills required, and when I talk about skills, I talk about all the stuff that means that developers are not blocking each other, that project managers are not the only source of truth, or domain experts are not only available when they are in the office. So the kind of environment where people don't block each other, and this requires really a lot of preparation and many skills. Maybe it requires certain kinds of people. Maybe it's not for everyone. But as a result, you have a lower buzz factor, for example. So you can, if people are so independent and someone kind of disappears from the team because they quit, because whatever, it's much easier for the whole company and for the people to deal with it. So if you are a developer who wants to switch to a remote and async environment, then one way to go would be to increase your async and remote skills, learn how to deal with the backlog, learn how to communicate and over-communicate, but also communicate effectively, not spam people with the communication. So there's a certain number of things that you can do, and I believe most of the adoption can start from just one developer in the company, and then through certain phases you can switch the whole company up to a bit more async and remote. But I don't believe that any company which started as a fully sync and fully office company can ever switch to be fully async and fully remote. I think it's just something that needs to be from day one. I really, maybe I'm wrong, and show me examples if I'm wrong. I'll be happy to learn, but that's not something that I have seen so far. Thanks for listening. Let me know on Twitter or anywhere else what you think about it, and whether you see some other blocking points, or maybe you think the whole idea of going remote and async is not really, doesn't really make sense. I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you.